Hey, welcome back to Matter of Fact, September 17th. We're here on a Tuesday giving you that week 2 recap. Austin just got back from Fort Worth, Dallas area yesterday morning. How was your trip, man?
It was cool. Couldn't complain, but it was unfortunate that they weren't able to, close it, win the game. But we'll get into that later on in the episode.
For sure. Well, we got a lot to talk about, so we're just going to jump into the games. We're going to start with the Browns in Jacksonville. Seems like, Deshaun Watson kind of had some moments here where it kind of looked like prime Deshaun Watson a little bit. And I think the quarterback play is what we want to talk about here because, that's your boy Trevor. How many duds is he going to put up until we start questioning if he's really that guy? I mean, he just got paid, but what do you think about this game?
Just a game, like it's I don't necessarily know if it's a dud. They played the same type of game. Right now, like I said, once the first 4 or 5 weeks of the season is everybody's preseason. So they're figuring out what they want to do. Coaches have egos, players have egos. They feel, if they want to run a certain offense or they want to play a certain way, they come out and they're going to try to do that. But, I'm going to give all of these guys at least another month and a half because I just know things are going to change. Right now, maybe they're trying to figure out what their lineup is. They're trying to figure out who's wide receiver 1, who's wide receiver 2, who's going to be wide receiver 3. It's just a lot of moving parts. So, he didn't have the best game. I'm not going to sit here and say that he's a great quarterback or he tried to defend anything about it. But at the end of the day, I think it was just sloppy play all around. And, don't forget the Browns have a good defense. The Browns have one of the better defenses in the NFL. And just because they lost and they had 33 points put up on them in the first game of the season doesn't mean that
they're a bad defense all of a sudden. If anything, they came to play this game. Yeah, like, all right, that's not us type of deal.
Yeah.
Now, this is why it's a game I didn't really touch because the Browns defense week 1 looked very uncharacteristic of themselves. And then, the Jags, they should have beat the Dolphins, right? They lost week 1.
The Jags were up against the Dolphins. They were getting ready to be up 27-7, and Travis Etienne, one of the Etienne brothers, fumbled at the goal line, and Miami went down, scored, and the rest was history after that. But yeah, they were playing an awesome game in the first half of the first half of the first game of the season, and it just seems like ever since then, it just hasn't been the same. Something's not there. It's not clicking. And, I can't really put my finger on anything, but it definitely looks like if they can't get this thing taken care of within the next 2-3 weeks, the season can be slipping from them. But, again, it's early in the season, and I'm sure Doug Peterson's a good enough coach to where he can get this ship turned around.
Yeah. You said, you want to give these cats like another month. At least you have more grace than, management over there in Carolina. But we'll get to that. Yeah, not much to take away from this game. 2 teams that, either a devastating loss with Cleveland week 1 or should have had that one. So somebody has to go 0-2. That's the way I was looking at this game. Didn't touch it betting wise. Jerry Jeudy, he had a pretty good game. Elijah Moore, caught a lot of passes and whatnot. And then Travis did his typical thing.
This is the way that the team, the Browns, I'm saying, is the way that they're assembled right now. Deshaun Watson may not ever be that Deshaun Watson he was in Houston. But if he can give them just average production at the quarterback position, they're set up to win. We already know this is a run-heavy team. It's a run-heavy scheme. They have good wide receivers on the outside, and they have a solid defense that people even would call their defense elite. So they're not asking Deshaun Watson to come out here and win the game throwing 350 yards and 2 touchdowns in the air and 1 on the ground. They're just asking them to manage the game, don't lose it for us. And that's what he did, and I think that he's going to do that a few more times this season for them.
You think they're wishing they had Baker back with Kevin Stefanski?
Everything happens for a reason. Yeah, everything's hindsight 2020, and I think Baker's happy where he's at right now. So I obviously. Grass ain't always green on the other side, and it doesn't matter. Like that's a cliche saying, but it's true, and it's true in all aspects of life. People think that the shinier toy or that thing over there is better than what they have in their hands, and they learn the hard way that it's not.
True. Well, let's move on to what we got here. Jets in Tennessee. This was an interesting game. Aaron Rodgers really getting back to form, relatively efficient, no picks. He likes to check that stat sheet. He don't like putting up those picks. But another egregious play from Will Levis where, I don't know, man. I feel like he be trying to be too sexy out there sometimes, man. He be trying to be too sexy, bro. Like,
is that what it is? Is that what it is?
I don't know, bro. He kind of strikes me as someone who like stares at himself in the mirror a little bit too long. Even the draft, when he fell into the second, he brought that dime piece who clearly wasn't a day one. She got popping off that. Like, just something about him. There's something about him we don't know about. But either way, not a terrible game, but that play, I know that he wished he had that one back. Week 1, he had a similar like head scratching play. But, clearly this is a prove-it year for him, which is why they put so much money on both sides of the ball. But, that division with the Titans and the Colts and the Jags and the Texans should be pretty interesting. But
right.
I'm not sure if this is Tennessee's year. I think they're going to be a middle-of-the-pack team. I think with Tua's injury, the Jets are in the perfect place to even land like a wild card spot. Yeah, they got the brakes beat off them by the Niners week 1, but it's Aaron Rodgers' first real game back since that into the first quarter. He tears ACL, Achilles,
torn his Achilles.
Yeah, so I think Aaron Rodgers is going to continue to get better and better as the year goes on, and I think this is a game they had to have, and they got it done.
Yeah, again, when it comes to the Jets, I understand the NFL wants them to be good. NFL wants Aaron Rodgers to be good, but they lost last week. And again, if it wasn't for them playing this egregious quarterback that is struggling taking care of the ball, they might be 0-2. They could easily be 0-2. Yeah, they are 1-1, and again, I don't think that the Tennessee Titans are a talent depleted team. I think they just have a quarterback that's struggling. But I still gotta wait and see a little bit more with the New York Jets. I don't think that what you're saying is out of the realm of possibilities. But at the same time, I just don't think because you beat the Tennessee Titans by a touchdown when you were down by a touchdown for the majority of the game is like something to be like, okay, well, they're fine and they're only going to get better.
Hey, you were the one that said, hey, if whatever team saw the Jets 1 seed, 2 seed, and I was like, you think they're going to win the division? Type shit. So I'm not really singing their praises, nothing crazy. I'm just saying this is a good, confidence builder type of game. Can you do me a favor and look into the snap count with the receivers over there at Tennessee? Seems kind of, interesting. Calvin Ridley did his thing. Shout out to Calvin Ridley.
Snap count.
But it seems like Traylon Burks the A.J. Brown replacement's not getting too much burn.
Let's see what we got here. Snap count for the Tennessee Titans. Let me see. Let's do week. Well, we can do season. It's all good. Let's see who we got. Let's look for who we looking for.
Oh, you can't do the full team?
Nah, not yet.
All right. Well, forget it. I'll let you look into that.
But I mean, yeah. Hold on. We can go to Calvin Ridley real quick.
No, I mean Calvin Ridley's clearly the alpha in that room, but it's like, what's the deal with D-Hop? Traylon Burks, I think, got maybe like one target.
Right. I mean, D-Hop is battling back from an injury. Is the only thing with him. Like I think that he played, but he's playing through like a PCL injury or something like that.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me see if I can find him. Yeah, DeAndre Hopkins is playing through something right now. So that's one of the reasons why, I don't even think he's on here. Is he on here? Has he qualified to be on here? Like, I don't even know what his snap count was at the beginning in the first game of the season. Hold on, let me see something right quick.
Yeah, well, besides that, I like the offensive pieces they got. I like how they addressed the running back room. I like their tight end Aquanco. So when D-Hop is back in the form, I think they're a good upset candidate for some of their games coming up.
Yeah, bro. I mean, right now, DeAndre Hopkins is just kind of a show. He had a 44% snap count, but he's just not D-Hop. Yeah. It's just not going for him right now.
Hurts to see.
Calvin really is kind of a baller.
Nah, he was doing his thing. They even had him on a rush play. He had like 10 yards on that rush play. They're using him in all types of ways. Then you got that combo of Tajay Spears, Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard's even catching the ball a bunch, along with his how they're splitting the backfield over there. I mean, he's getting the bulk of the carries. He got 17 carries, averaging 3.6.
It's clear that he's definitely healthy, and I think that's the thing that matters the most. Is like, now that he's healthy, he's able to be as explosive as he was when he had that good year with the Dallas Cowboys. And, he caught a lot of fit last year because he was coming back from a broken tibia, but Dallas is like selling it like, oh yeah, Tony Pollard's getting the carries. He's ready to go. He's going to be the bell cow running back. And everybody believed him because he's practicing every single day. About 5, 6, 7 games into the season, he comes out and says, like, yeah, I'm finally starting to feel healthy now. And it's like, oh, okay, so you know what I mean? Like, it took him some time to get in rhythm, and that happens. But I'm happy to see him playing well now.
Nah, for sure. And on the Jets side of the ball, watch out for Braylon Allen. He seems like he's getting his opportunities. Obviously, a big body.
I wouldn't say he's getting his opportunities.
The dude had 7 carries and he had 4 targets. Yeah, I mean, compared to week 1, that's up from week 1. So I think, if they mix him in a little bit, all I'm saying is that might be something I'm targeting on the waiver wire a little bit. Speaking of waiver wire, that boy Alan Lazard, who in my league, Buddy spent all his fab on him. 3 fantasy points, 2 catches for 11. That's tough. If you bought into the Alan Lazard sauce.
Yeah, and me personally, again, I wouldn't suggest somebody to, if you have Breece Hall, I would definitely maybe spend up for Braylon Allen, but me personally, I would not chase those points. I mean, people chase points with Isaiah Likely. People chased points last week with Alan Lazard, like he just said, and this week they probably regret that decision. So if you have Breece Hall,
I want to see if he started him.
Right. If you have Breece Hall, I understand he's a solid handcuff, and he looked good out there. That's the big thing. I think he looks like a legitimate, solid NFL football player out there. But he caught a touchdown pass, and I want to say that was the first touchdown pass that he's caught since high school. So that's not even usually his role, but it's nice to see that he can do it, and it looked like he'll even be able to sell at it. But I mean, Brees Hall is a really, really good running back, and he is the running back one on this team. Just don't do too much
obviously,
trying to So I mean, if you like him, stash him, but just don't do too much trying to get this guy on your team and chase these points.
Buddy didn't even start Allen Lazard. It's like we gotta kick him out the league. I'm gonna talk to our commissioner. Yeah, I kick y'all out the league. Serious niggas only. But yeah, we can move on from this game. What we got next up?
Next up, got the upset. One of the upsets of the week. One of the many upsets of the week, I should say.
Is that making you feel better about what you saw?
Nah, I'm not. I'm not one of those people that feel better when I see another team lose or I see another team or another person, having a bad day. Like, I'm trying to win. It ain't about nobody else and what's going on to anybody else or no other team. I want to win. So, like, none of this is justifiable for me. Now, for wrestling fans and stuff like that, they love. It don't matter what their team do. They don't even care about what their team do. They're like, oh, the Cowboys lost. All right, bet. Cool. At least they lost. But it's like, I don't feel that way. I'm hurt. I hold my team accountable. I hold my football team accountable, just like I hold myself accountable. So that's just one man. That's just one man's way of living. But I do understand that some people, they do feel better when they see other teams lose.
I mean, on top of that, you did, I think, take the Raiders to cover this, and they won outright. So that was a good pick. I went the opposite way. I thought I didn't see, the Ravens haven't been 0-2 since 2015, I believe. Obviously, they get the Chiefs. This, to me, was supposed to be one of them layup games, but don't sleep on that Raiders defense, man. It's one of the, the bright spots of the team, and they do have weapons galore. I mean, before they drafted Brock Bowers, who had 9 catches for 98, he's looking like a beast. I think if it wasn't for the Kyle Pitts, I think the Kyle Pitts getting picked at 4 left a bad taste in people's mouths. He might have went a little bit earlier, but then you have Jacoby Myers, good young receiver, and Devontae Adams still doing Devontae Adams things. One takeaway I like from this game, and it's not really, the X's and O's, but he genuinely looked happy after this win. Like, after they got off the field, or not after, but on the field.
But playing for Antonio Pierce, I think they really like playing for their coach, and that it means something.
Shout out to Pierce, Giants legend Pierce.
Gardner Minshew had a good game. We were kind of not talking bad about him, but we were saying that he's a middle of the road quarterback. And
I wasn't talking bad about him because I was like, I'd like to see him in that Miami joint, that Miami offense.
And
versus Tua, you know what I mean? Like, look at that, 30 for 38, bro. We're not. Two on IR. Yeah, 2 on IR. We talked ad nauseum about him, but 30 for 38, 276. You know what I mean? He was sacked 5 times. Gardner Minshew's a baller, man.
I mean, he has the Ravens number. He beat him last year, and he's beat him this year. At some point, maybe we need to address that the Ravens defense isn't as good as we think it is, or maybe Mike McDonald being gone is starting to show some side effects of that, So it's just something to consider with Baltimore. As for Lamar, so game, but we knew Derrick Henry was going to get there. He got his 80 yards and a touchdown. Zay Flowers had a pretty good game. Mark Andrews had a bounce back. It just didn't work out. It was just one of those.
And then speaking of likely, Andrews had a better game than him. And similar to spending up for Lazard, I know it was way more common for people to spend up for Likely. So I would prefer. Huh?
I say he got him 4 points. He got you 4 points.
He got him nice 4.6 points. He has a decent floor. He has a decent floor.
But I mean that was always, that was always going to be what it was with Isaiah Likely, I believe. I was like, anywhere between three to, if you get lucky, 5 receptions a game, and anywhere between 5 receptions for 60 yards to to 2 receptions for 26 yards. Like that's what you're getting when you're starting the tight end 2 on the team. So it's just like you gotta be mindful of that. Is there anything else you wanted to say about this game?
Nah, for sure. And with Mark Andrews, isn't he coming off an injury too?
So it's not necessarily that he's coming off an injury, but he did have a severe car accident where probably anybody else would be, like probably still laid up in bed, but he's a football player, so he's just built different. But they said the car flipped over like 3 times.
Oh, damn, for real?
Yeah, so for the regular person, it probably would have been a severe.
It reminds me of the Ricky Purcell where he got shot in the chest and he like walked over to the thing. Like the real life superheroes on these fields, man. I swear to God.
Yeah, football players are different, man. They're just built different. And then here we go.
I'm gonna let you hold this one.
Donkey of the weekend, right here. The Dallas Cowboys. This is
ass beating.
I mean, there's no excuse. Derek Carr threw the ball 16 times. They were in control of this from start to finish. It was the same exact game that the Green Bay Packers had that we lost. I had PTSD watching this game, and I knew what was going to happen from the time that it started because we deferred. And I'm like, why are we deferring? We don't defer to so a lot of teams defer to the second half. The Dallas Cowboys don't do that. They want the ball first so that they can score 7 and they can start, score 7 on that first drive. And the defense is able to play with the lead. And today they decided, no, we want to defer. We're playing the Saints. Okay, whatever. The Saints came out and they had a game plan. They knew everything they were doing. It was reason for everything they did. They ran 21 personnel, which is 2 running backs, 1 tight end, and 12 personnel, 1 running back, two tight ends, and they just ran. They ran outside zone. They ran outside wide zone, and the Dallas Cowboys D tackles couldn't contain anything, couldn't get any pressure, couldn't penetrate at all. The linebackers couldn't get out there fast enough. I mean, Micah, people like to bash him for playing DN, but he actually didn't do bad. It just sucks when you're playing a team that knows they do pin and pulls. And, they can chip and they can just run away from him when he's playing at a DN. If you're playing on right side DN, we're going to just toss it to the left, or we're going to just do some wham and we're going to go duo up the middle, outside. They worked us. They completely worked us. And then off of that, they knew, okay, we're going to run play action. We're going to keep it in tight. We're only going to run 2 wide receivers, but we're going to have max protection, and we're going to have a guy on a crosser, and that's who we're going to hit. They didn't do we didn't make them do anything they didn't want to do. It was like, this is our game script, and they stuck to it. Alvin Kamara, when we finally decided to blitz, we dialed up the blitz, and the second we dialed up the blitz, boom, screen pass, 57-yard touchdown. It was like, okay, cover 2, we're in cover 2. They run a play action, and then Shaheed, bam, perfect ball though. It was a perfect ball by Derek Carr. But it
was like a replay from first week. First week, he had a similar thing. Shout out to Shaheed. Alvin Kamara, bro. He needs that gold jacket. He had that 6 touchdown. What was it? Christmas game. And what I tell you about these running backs, how do you feel about y'all run defense just in general? I'm not sure how y'all did week 1 against the Browns. Obviously, it's a run heavy team.
It's not necessarily. Well, our D tackle, our D tackles aren't comparable. They're not serviceable D tackles. I would go as far as to say that they're below average at D tackle. So you
feel like Mozzie Smith was a miss, or do you think it's just like, man, he's just a rotational piece? Maybe he shouldn't have went in the first round.
It's looking like it. It's looking very, very unfortunate right now. One second, hold on.
All right, back to it.
Yeah, but it was just one of those games where they knew everything, that they knew how to beat us. They essentially were like, look, if we run this Green Bay, it's the same. This coordinator is the same coordinator that's from that Shanahan tree, and we cannot beat that Shanahan tree. Matt LaFleur.
That's pretty glaring though, because those guys are all over the league.
Well, that's the thing. We keep on getting these old guys. We keep on getting these old coordinators thinking that because they got experience and we're going up against this new scheme and they whoop them every single time. I mean, this right here was what I was afraid of. I was like, look, I don't know. This guy was on.
So y'all just lost Dan Quinn. Who's your DC now?
Mike Zimmer. And Mike Zimmer was supposed to fix.
Mike Zimmer cool though.
Right. And that's what
you were singing his praises last week.
That's what everybody thought, because it's like, oh, okay, all right, we're done with this. We're done with the blown coverages. We're done with the lack of run fits. We're done with all of that.
When we just going to give Derek Carr that credit, I always see. I'm not going to take credit for like last year. I was like, man, don't sleep on Derek Carr. But I always felt like for one,
he threw the ball 16 times. You know what I mean?
When he did, but he's 11 for 16. He was accurate with the ball. He's accurate with the deep ball. He played within the offense.
They set it up. They didn't even get off of their 15 play script, bro. We never made them play no football. I had to talk to my man about that. He's trying to say Derek Carr's ass. I'm like, Derek Carr's not ass. He's a middle of before this.
Well,
season,
what you got to remember to a lot of casuals. Go ahead.
He's a middle of the pack quarterback, and
Mr.
he has an offensive coordinator that's setting him up. Has put him in the right position to succeed, and their offensive line bullied our defensive line. At the end of the day, they knew, like I said, they had a plan. Everything they did, there was a reason behind it. They never were behind the sticks. It was always 3rd and 2. It was always 2nd and 4, 2nd and 5. And it's like, if any serviceable quarterback can play in that situation, that's the ideal situation for every football fans team to be in. And it's like, my disappointment and my team is, why were we not more prepared? Why in the second half of that Cleveland game were we not working on our shit? Why we get up and it's like, okay, we're up. We don't need to play football no more. And then now we in a football game and we over here trying stuff. We over here trotting out Ezekiel Elliott, bro. And it's like, we laugh about it. We joke about it.
Man. Like Zeke has been playing.
What? But did you, okay, put it this way. So I'll tell you a story, and this is true. We're at the game. Me and my dad are at the game. We're watching it. And Zeke catches a pass and he runs. And my dad is over here thinking he got like an 8-9 yard gain. He gained 1 yard. He was like, what, you only gained 1 yard on that play? I'm like, yeah. I mean, they literally, I'm not even joking. Zeke is so stuck in mud, like the way he runs the football right now, that they can wait and see if he has the ball, make sure he has the ball, and then run to him and tackle him. I'm not joking, bro. It's on, and we ran a toss play to him, bro. We ran a toss play to Ezekiel Elliott. He got 2 yards. He got 2 yards.
Hey, that boy Jerry Jones, he's trying to reminisce.
Well, that's what happens when you're the owner, you're the GM, you're the all of these things. You're trying to sell a product, so you're selling Zeke, the running back that all these people want to believe in. Dallas Cowboy fans want to believe in, but in reality, it's like, this cat is not good enough. And it has to be minus production when he has the ball. He averaged 2.7 yards a carry. I mean, like it's like, this is not even slander of the man, because like it's clear that the Cowboys love him. He loves the Cowboys, all of this, but that's not his role, man. And it's like, Rico, give this to Rico Dowdle and let him get in the rhythm and get in the flow of the game.
Well, I mean? The good news for y'all is the upcoming running back class looks legendary. So maybe that's why y'all didn't draft one this year.
They just didn't want to. They had a chance. They could have got it. You don't have to get, with the whole conversation about Derrick Henry, you didn't have to get Derrick Henry, but you could have got somebody. They chose to get nothing.
Don't do that, because I was saying that and you were like, nah, man. Well,
no, I just knew they weren't going to. They're going to, but listen, Rico Dowdle can do it. Rico Dowdle, just give him the carry.
He does look straight, and on the other side of things, Marshawn Lloyd on the Packers, he's injured. Jonathan Brooks with the Panthers, who they got in the second round, he's injured.
He's hurt, so they wouldn't be playing right. But it's just like we're over
doesn't look
here.
terrible in hindsight. But
It's
let
like
me say
we're
this about
catering
Derek.
to Zeke though, and it's like we can't do that anymore. And that's what I always
I
tell
mean,
you.
you're acting like he got most of the care. I mean, maybe he shouldn't be
He got six.
splitting
He
like
got six
that.
carries. He got 6 carries to Rico's 7.
Yeah,
I mean, they're just splitting it down. They're splitting it down. He got 2 receptions. You know what I mean? They're splitting it. That we don't need to be splitting this, bro.
what's
This
what's
doesn't
good
need
with
to
your
be.
boy Deuce Vaughn though? He little, but can't y'all get creative with him? Mike McCarthy's a good offensive mind. Y'all can't get creative with him.
Again, that's why I was frustrated, was because of the preparation. We over here trying shit. Oh, well, let's see what's up with Jalen Tolbert at wide receiver 3. One of the picks that we got, one of the interceptions that we got,
He had 82 yards.
Because
I watched pieces of that game, and he looks legit. I think
I was talking about Jalen. Well, there's another Jalen Brooks. Jalen Brooks is in there on a play. And
so was it Brooks or Tolbert you're talking about?
No, well, what I'm saying is that Jalen Brooks was in. We're trying shit out. We don't have a wide receiver 3, so we're trying these guys out to be see who wide receiver 3 is. And Jalen Brooks, he's getting ready to cut, and he's wide open. It's a wide open lane. They're running zone, and he cuts, and Dak is throwing the ball to him. He's throwing it to him, and my dad's even like, he's wide open, hit him. He falls. He just falls. The DB doesn't touch him. Nothing. Nobody touches him. But in this moment, you're about to make a play for your football team, and you fall. Interception. You know what I mean? And it's tough. Like it's just tough. Like, yo, what? And it's like, you respectfully, come on, bro. You can't get no more chances. I need you to be there. When you make that play, you have to be there. Because if you aren't, it don't cost me. It costs me. It costs the quarterback.
That boy has some shit running down his leg.
It was the same thing that I kind of talked about with Tua. When Tua didn't throw the ball to Tyreek Hill or Jaden Waddle, bad things happened. And it's the same situation. This wide receiver 3 thing is an issue for us. And
Jalen Tolbert went crazy. I'm just saying he had some very key plays for y'all, even though
he also got smacked by Tyrann Matthews and had the ball fly like 5 yards away.
I mean, Honey Badger's still like that. You can't be too mad.
Right, but I'm just saying. But again, I don't have a problem with him being the wide receiver 3, and that's just setting that and moving forward and establish. But it's like, because we don't have reps, we didn't get reps last week when we're playing a solid defense. We don't know yet. We don't even know what we're doing on offense. We don't got nothing. They had go-to plays. Everything with them looked easy. Bro, they went 6 possessions and scored 6 touchdowns. Everybody want to get mad at Dak Prescott and this, that, and the other thing. And it's like, bro, so even if he was fine and was the perfect quarterback,
y'all letting up too many points. It's like you said, it's similar to y'all playoff game against the Packers where niggas wanted to blame him. And I think it was heavily because of that egregious pick six before the half was over. But yeah, it was egregious, but that wasn't the determining factor of the game. If your defense is letting up 44 points, that the other team should win.
And it's like, bro, and I don't even want to get on the quarterback, but what's up with is this defense? We can't call this defense the E word. I can't say that about this defense. It's hard for me to even
y'all have elite players. Y'all have elite players. That's it. Y'all have elite players.
I mean, they have elite players, right? But bro, you never hold your quarterback down. You never let him get, if we don't start the game firing off on all cylinders, they don't never say, oh shoot, all right, the offense need us to hold this down so they can get this thing figured out right quick. I got y'all. It's never that. I mean, you watched the Cincinnati Bengals game and you watched Pat Mahomes not play too well. You saw him throw an egregious interception.
And the defense held him down.
That's a top 5 defense. That's a top 5 defense.
And let's talk about the Saints a little bit. You said that the O-line bullied y'all. It seems like Fuaga, I'm not going to try. Fuaga, their first round pick, he seems like a smash pick. And then when it comes to Derek Carr, what people have to remember about why Derek Carr is on the Saints, usually it's like there's a reason why he's available. To me, with the Raiders under Josh McDaniel, a lot of those Belichick guys like to live back in the glory days. That's why when Antonio Pierce made that little speech bringing up the Giants, went over to Super Bowl, he took him to the side and was like, what was that? You're trying to show me up? Blase. I think that they got Jimmy G, who's not starting in this league anymore. I don't think he'll ever start in this league anymore. I think they got Jimmy G on some, back in the day, this was supposed to be Tom Brady's successor. And that's why they got rid of Derek Carr when the whole time Devontae Adams only came to the Raiders, partially because that's his hometown, that's his team, whatever. But he wanted to play with who he played with in college. Y'all messed that up. And now Gardner, he's not doing too bad. Clearly, they just had an upset against the Ravens. That's cool. But let's not sleep on Derek Carr like he's on the Saints because he needed a second chance.
Yeah, there's a lot of teams in the NFL that would not mind having that would probably should have Derek Carr as their quarterback. You know what I mean? The Vikings. I can name the Vikings off the top of my head right now. They would probably appreciate having Derek Carr as their quarterback. You know what I mean? Like I know the Commanders got Jaden Daniels and he's young and he'll probably become a good quarterback. But today, to win, you're probably going to win more games with Derek Carr as your quarterback. And it's not to say that Derek Carr doesn't have deficiencies and he's this good, perfect quarterback. But he is in that threshold that we, again, considered above average. We consider him, he's in the same threshold as Tua. It's the same conversation. You know what I mean? It's where you got to pay him his money, but at the same time, it's annoying that you have to pay him his money. But he is a decent quarterback, and now he has an offensive coordinator that's catering to him. He has an offensive coordinator that's making it easy for him.
Just looking at this, I like what they got creative on offense. It seems like it worked. They rushed it with 2 different receivers, and Taysom Hill obviously is going to do his thing. But that one rush with Chris Olave got 7. Rashid Shaheed, besides his deep ball, 3 for 13 as a receiver. They seems like they kind of did what they want, but
they did everything that they wanted to. And it's like any day your quarterback is only throw the ball 16 times, that's a good day. That is a good day.
16 times and 44 points is kind of nuts. Back to the drawing board.
You know what I mean?
But we spent a lot of time on this. I hope this was a good therapy session for you.
Yeah, but I hate my football team, but it's okay. Well, hopefully they got enough time to get it fixed. But it just seems there's a common thing with these coordinators that come from that Shanahan tree that we can't solve it. We can't get it fixed. But let's go on to a better game. Seattle and the Patriots.
Man, it's crazy. The Patriots looking something slight. Like, are they going to be decent? And then when Drake May is ready on some smooth, you know what I mean? I mean, the fact that this game went into overtime, the Patriots don't seem like a team that's like a smash for your parlay, or if you're still in your survivors pool. I know some people like to do that. Doesn't seem like a team you really want to take lightly. I mean, what do you think about this game?
When I think about the Patriots, I just think it's kind of in a way they're similar to the Raiders. They know their identity. You know what I mean? They know it's okay. We're going to run the football, and we're going to control the clock. We're going to play solid defense, and they're good at doing it. I mean, we've had a few conversations about Antonio Gibson. You got an opinion about him?
He had himself a game this game,
right? He had
almost
himself a
9
game
yards a carry.
Right, on top of the fact that Ramondre is a good back too, and they ran the ball 32 times, and it that wears on you. And Jacoby Brissett, again, we're not saying they would much rather have Derek Carr than Jacoby Brissett, but at the same time, he knows how to manage the football game. He'll use his legs a little bit, and he can get it to the players. He can get it to the playmakers. He's
definitely one of the best backup / bridge quarterbacks in the league. Jalen Polk had a nice little touchdown catch, but Hunter Henry,
with a 45% target share.
Yeah, received the lion's share of the passes overall. Nobody really did anything in the pass game, like you said. They ran it over 32 times. So and that was working for them.
And it's like it's clear that they putting defenses in hell. And I mean, Geno had a great day. Geno balled out 327 yards on the ground. You know what I mean? Finally, Jackson Smith and Jigba has his breakout game. You know,
12
like,
catches. Woof.
yeah, you know, and it's like they it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy. They had to play football though. You know what I mean? It was clear that they made them play some football today. It was like, all right, and they were up to it. Seattle was up to it. So shout out to them. Shout out to Geno. He's playing like a top 10 QB. Again, probably I think we'd probably put him up there with Derek Carr and Baker Mayfield as some of the better QB plays right now.
Yeah, for
They
sure.
really might be
In the
top
same-
5 in quarterback play right now, week 2. You know? So,
I see a lot of pundits like downplay Geno. I don't know if they want to give Dave Canales all this credit, but without Dave Canales, Geno and Baker are doing their thing. So maybe those are just solid quarterbacks, man. And that's what it comes down to. Huh?
Right. And his quarterback just got benched. The quarterback he's coaching right now just got benched. So.
Now, we'll get to that because I think it's more meddling ownership. But yeah, Seahawks closed out this game. Shout out to them. They're first in their division. With the Rams faltering due to injury, which is always their concern year in and year out, and the Cardinals being a very smooth dark horse team. Interested to see how that division works out because they're 2-0. The Niners obviously lost to the Vikings. I can't wait to get to that game. But yeah, Indianapolis at the Packers. This is a gem of a pick for you. You had them covering that, and you even mentioned how they might win outright, and that's what they did. Anthony Richardson with a stinker.
Yeah, and again, the coaching, Matt LaFleur. You know, that was my whole reasoning for it. Was I just believe Matt LaFleur is going to be able to work with Malik Willis. And you know, I was listening to PFF earlier today, and I think it's the 33rd team now. But Sam Morrison, he had a good point, and basically what he said is when Malik Willis was in Tennessee, they were trying to make him coach him up to be a franchise quarterback, quote unquote. So they would yell at him for the one read and didn't run. Mike Vrabel didn't like that. Mike Vrabel, you know, he kind of lost his confidence there, and they kind of didn't really care for him either. He goes over here with this coach that understands that, you know, I don't need to make you my franchise QB. I already got one of those. You're our backup, and we need you, and we know I can work with what you do. If this is what you do, you got one read and then you go and run, that's fine. We'll work with it. And what they do, they use that to their advantage, and they use their running back. You know, Josh Jacobs. Everybody, if you followed football over the past few years, one thing about Josh Jacobs is he's a bell cow running back. He is one of these old school bell cow running backs that can carry the ball 29 times, and for whatever reason, it just doesn't. He gets better with the carries. He gets better. Even in the first game of the season, he looked like he didn't have it anymore. He looked washed in the first half. And then in the second half, he's averaging 7.9 yards a carry. He's just one of those guys that it doesn't matter. As long as you keep on giving him the ball. I mean, they fed him 32 times, dog. 32 times. You know, and they just, again, they played with their defense. Their defense held them down. They understood they don't have their quarterback. Y'all are going to need us to step up, and that's what they did. They got 3 interceptions off of Josh Richardson. Which
shout out to Xavier McKinney, rooting for him over there in Green Bay. And
was he one?
Yeah, he got a pick.
That's 2 on the year.
Pick. Yeah, and I mean Julian Love, he had one last week. Another former Giant on the Seahawks, and he had 7 total tackles. So I don't know. We might be good at. I know it's not a Giants part of the show right now, but we might just be that good at drafting safeties because Jabril Peppers is still
look at
doing this thing.
You know, I'm not saying that somebody's begging to have this guy on your team, but if this is what you're getting,
Very efficient game. I apologize to Malik Willis. I was ready to smash the Colts. No Diddy, which that has a new meeting this morning, but because Malik Willis was starting at quarterback, and you know, I guess I'm very high on Matt LaFleur, but I'm also very high on Shane Steichen, and I expected a better game out of them. Where I felt like the Packers were going to be serviceable with Malik Willis, but what I saw in that Colts-Texans game, which is why what's interesting, right? It's week 2, so now we have more data. The early part of the season is about collecting this data, and it reminds me of the UFC. I'm a big UFC fan, and UFC is about style matchups. You can't do head-to-head. This guy beat this guy, so he should be able to beat this guy. He lost to this guy, so he should be able to lose to this guy. Each week, they're doing different game plans. They're watching the tape over and over and creating game plans for specific teams. And you can't just go by last week's performance. And this is a good example of that.
Right. And I mean, I agree with you, and I know this isn't a fantasy football game, but like Baker Mayfield and Derek Carr are 1 and 2 right now in the rankings,
and they're in the same division. That who would have thought? And this is why this is the best league. This is the best sport in the world, because all it takes is a season, some good draft picks, some good roster movements, I
think also this is why it's like you can't press the panic button week 2. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, we know that's not how this is going to end. You know what I'm saying? We know it's not going to end with Derek Carr and Baker being 1 and 2 as the best quarterbacks in the NFL. I'm
interested to see how the Saints do against the Eagles this upcoming week. They got a 1:00 game. That should be interesting. That should tell us a lot if the Eagles end up being 1 and 2, and then the Bucks have the Broncos, who are 0 and 2, which are Bo Nix. I know that's your man's. So.
Yeah. And one thing I do,
I'm keeping a keen eye on them.
Before we get off of Indy and Green Bay, I do want people to keep an eye out for what happened with Jonathan Taylor, because Jonathan Taylor was killing these cats on the ground. I know he didn't score a touchdown, but for whatever reason, he didn't play in the fourth quarter. So, I don't know yet if Shane Steichen has said the reason why. I don't think he's been on any of the injury reports throughout today and yesterday. So that's just something that's
a head scratcher.
Yeah, right. So it's just something that just kind of keep a lookout for.
Hey, my boy Alec Pierce. Keep doing it. Hey, come on now. That's who I was saying. Like, hey, don't sleep on my boy Alec Pierce. Great deep ball threat. But yeah, we can move on from there. All right, man. Back to it. We got fortunate game for my squad. First and foremost, this is all on Daboll and management for. I don't know if Graham Gano has some dirt on John Mara, our owner, or what. I don't know why we keep pushing this guy out. Let me check his age real quick, because we had an open roster slot. He's 37. He was hurt last year. He cost us some games last year. And it's interesting. I want to know if you have any insight on this, but we have Jamie Gillian, aka Scottish Hammer. He's our punter. Is there a reason why a punter can't kick extra points?
Yeah. I mean, it's just for like it's two different skill sets. I mean, there are some kickers that are also punters, but it seems as if there's two different. Because there was a time where the Cowboys had a punter, and actually, I think they do now. I think they have a punter, and then they have Brandon Aubrey. I don't think that he does both. So,
most teams, but clearly a different skill set, because we had to go for two often. The good takeaways from us in this game is Devin Singletary looks really solid. There's some stats where he's like very high up there, if not leading, in missed tackles. He runs the ball very efficiently. He did his thing for sure. Malik. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And Motor, he has a relationship with Brian Daboll and Joe Shane. They both were there with the Bills before he went to the Texans. He usurped Dameon Pierce, who's the younger back. So he does everything that we need him to do. We got Tyrone Tracy in, I believe, like the 5th round this year, who was a former wide receiver, turned running back. He's 25, which is pretty old for a running back to draft, but he doesn't have that much mileage from his college days, so it's not as bad. And then we obviously got Eric Gray last year. I forget which round, but in the middle rounds. But Devin Singletary's cleared the workhorse back. Daniel Jones had an efficient game, but this just came down to us not having a kicker, man. But when it comes to Jaden Daniels, he's not passing the ball down the field very much, but the guy is shifty. I'll give him that.
Didn't they start passing it down the field? Probably like didn't they have to start kind of passing it down the field there in the fourth quarter, or maybe like the 2-minute drill when they were trying to win the game?
Yeah, and then with that, when you deal with somebody who's more so doing dink and dunking and doing a lot of scrambling and whatnot. I mean, he was sacked 5 times, even though I'm very disappointed in what's supposed to be a stud D line. They haven't been performing up to par. Brian Burns had a better game than he did week 1, but Tibbs, that's the only Giants jersey I own right now, he's been a ghost, and it confuses me because Dexter Lawrence, who biased, but to me is the best nose tackle in the league now that Aaron Donald's gone. You have him up the middle. I'm not sure why we can't get more pressures, but on a positive note, Drew Phillips, he got a shout out from Ryan Clark, actually, who Ryan Clark played safety with the Steelers and I believe maybe the Packers. I'm not sure. But Ryan Clark gave him a shout out on Twitter. He did his thing. So I'm really liking our draft class. Tyler Nubin, Malik Neighbors, obviously, 10 catches, 127, a touchdown. He dropped a crucial
18 targets.
18. Yeah. Hey, that's what I want Danny to do. Find that boy. We have Wandell in the slot, real shifty, and then we have reliable on Darius Slayton. So I'm not mad at it. It just really irks me because now we could be 1-1 and be tied at the top of the division, but this division seems up for grabs, and a lot of it comes down to all the defenses in the division not really being up to par to how they came out of the offseason and how they think they would have improved, at least at the moment. But it is week 2. Unfortunate game for us, but Jaden Daniels looks promising. As long as he protects himself, he's looking smooth. But yeah, this game to me is on Brian Daboll in the front office, not really doing their due diligence of the kickers. I know we worked out 4 kickers after this game, and I think we just signed Greg Joseph, former Viking, so that should be fine. But that should have been done before, and I don't know if they're tanking or what. But on the flip side, I want to bring this into it. Our O-line is actually, this is the best O-line I've seen from the Giants in about 10 plus years. Give me 1 second. I'm about to show some stuff real quick. But yeah, this O-line, like I said, I know a lot of Giants fans, they wanted us to draft O-line in the draft, and I was like, look, we got some cheap guys in Illuminor and Greg Van Roten, and we have a top 2, top 3 left tackle in the league, most important part of the O-line, and then we drafted JMS round 2 last year, and we put enough into that. What we needed was a better O-line coach. Daboll fired his friend and Bobby Johnson for good reason. And then let's look at the pass blocking. PFF has a 6 in the league. Funny enough, the Panthers are 5th. Just kind of goes to how tumultuous that whole roster and that franchise and front office is over there. But overall, some of the Giants' weaknesses over the years, it's not really a weakness this year. DJ he had enough time in the pocket. There's some reads that he missed. Some of those, Neighbors caught it 10 times at 18 targets, but he should have had a couple more catches, minus the drop. But I'm not going to put that on the Rook when he's the entire offense, really. I mean, he's really that guy. LSU seems to be wide receiver U. Jay Jettas, Chase, now him. Brian Thomas is doing his thing with the Jags. And obviously, Odell came from LSU. If you want to go back further, what's his name? He was on the Browns. And Jarvis Landry.
Landry, yeah, Odell and Jarvis.
Yeah, so promising things, good takeaways from the Giants game. Our fan base is very doom and gloom right now. It's very annoying. They want Daboll and Shane gone, which I'm not really sure why. I would like them to get their quarterback. We've been pushing out Daniel Jones for the last 6 years. He's had his moments, and then he's had his real down periods, but I'm not trying to reset. And this was really a shot at Marshall Green. He runs our Sports Now or whatever that thing is. I want him fired. He's pissing me off. I hate the propaganda he's putting out. We don't need to fire Daboll and Shane. Daboll won Coach of the Year, got us a playoff win that first year, got the most out of Daniel Jones. I like Daboll as an offensive mind. And right now, it just seems like Shane Bowen, the DC we got from Tennessee, I'm not really liking what I'm seeing there, because I think here's a crazy stat for you. So in terms of teams that score 3 touchdowns and don't allow any touchdowns, just all field goals like the Washington beat us with, they didn't have any touchdowns. The record is like 1,100 and something and 1 for like losing that game, and we're that one. Crazy stat. 1,101, 3 touchdowns, allow no touchdowns. But the problem is they kept getting to the red zone, and, you know, their kicker was very efficient when he got the opportunity. So I will get him next time. Daniel Jones owns Washington, but on the bright side with them, on the bright side with them, you know, Jaden Daniels looks good. I think he's going to get better and better. It's the same way I feel about Caleb Williams right now.
Right, rookies are going to be rookies, man. Once it clicks, but it's going to take time. Again, everybody has to remember it's week 2, and none of these people played in preseason. None of the people that we're seeing out here starting for our football teams got reps in preseason. So, yeah, it's going to be sloppy. That's why we can't get anybody to throw for more than 175 yards. It's just rough right now, but it's going to get better. The product always gets better.
It does. Shout out to Tay Brooks. You know, Banks closed. Terry McLaurin didn't have a crazy game, but they're very efficient running the ball with Brian Robinson Jr. 17. He averaged about 8 yards a carry on 17 carries. He did his thing, but we didn't allow any touchdowns, man. So we should have had this one. Came down to the kick it. So it's kind of a fluky little game, but hey, it is what it is. That's what happens.
All right.
All right. So the Panthers against the Chargers. This one was with Harbaugh. He knows what he wants to do, right? Joe Alt. Hey, him and Rashawn Slater is looking like their weapons. And when you have a talent like Justin Herbert, unlike a Deshaun Watson, unlike some of these other quarterbacks where it's like, look, we're not expecting much from you. Just don't fuck this game up. Justin Herbert, we've seen him be able to take over games his past couple years with Brandon Staley, where the offense really ran through him. J.K. Dobbins, something about running backs who have an injury history. I'm not trying to jinx them, knock on wood, but he's having a great year. And then they have Gus Edwards there. Lad McConkey in the slot, and Quentin Johnston might be, you know, hearing me talk shit about him because he had a good game too with 2 touchdowns, 51 yards. So if he could be what they expected him to be when they drafted him in the first round, hey, we might not have a Jalen Reagor situation where it's like, oh, this guy, he's going to be off the team after his rookie contract. I like the Chargers. I think if you run an offense with Justin Herbert that's run heavy and you have a line like they do, kind of scary, not scary in a shootout type of way, but in a way where, look, all right, we've been doing our thing.
It's the same blueprint it's the same game plan, except with way better players that the New England Patriots are trying to create. That's what they want to do. They want to dictate the game by running the football, playing solid defense. We don't care about these wide receivers. We don't care about throwing it for 300 yards. We just want to play we want to control the clock, play solid defense, get enough points to win. And I mean, I think this game is a perfect example of showing the difference and like the discrepancy and quality of coaching. You know, like Jim Harbaugh, we could have predicted, he's going to come in, he's going to be solid, they're going to run the ball, they're going to beat the hell out of these guys.
35 carries from the running backs. That's exactly what he wants to do, man. And then he did it. And when Justin Herbert had to do his thing, he was efficient, completing, 70% of his passes, if I'm not wrong. Yeah.
So, and that's what it is, 130 yards. But he doesn't care that he has a franchise quarterback. He is a franchise quarterback. He's not making them throw 300 yards. He's a franchise quarterback, and it's
but when they need to, trust. And then that's the thing. Now you have less tape on what those play callings is going to look like with him. That's that's one of the pluses of running an offense like this. And when you have somebody, that's why very dark horse team for me. I think, Jim Harbaugh was a smash signing. He didn't get cute with the draft, trying to get some of his old players. They could have got Roman Wilson. They could have got Blake Corum. We're going to get Ladd McConkey. We're going to get Greg Roman with some running backs that he's familiar with who could carry that load. And, it's the Panthers. So I'm curious to see how they do next week against the who they got next week. I feel like it's a division game.
With Andy Dalton as a starting quarterback.
Yeah. So they got the Steelers next week. They're both 2-0. So that's going to be a smash mouth game. I'm smacking that under. What do you think that under total is at without looking at it? I'd say about 37.5.
Yeah, I was going to say like 36.
36.
I just off the top of my head, I would have said like 36. I mean, I don't know how any of these teams score, points. I don't think that the Panthers can even score a touchdown. Maybe they will with Andy Dalton. So I don't know, but
listen to this right now. The over under is 35.5. So you're on the money, low key.
Yeah, you know what I mean? I just don't see who's scoring touchdown. How does this even get to 30 points? Like, we're not even trying to troll here. Like, how does this get to 30 points? None of these coaches, like Carolina, can't get there. And Pittsburgh, I mean, they could care less. Like, once they get up 2 touchdowns, they'll run it the entire game.
Yeah, I mean, the key players in that game is going to be TJ Watt. You got Minkah Fitzpatrick. You got, Hayward, and then you have on the other side Derwin James and Bosa and Khalil Mack. It's going to be a very interesting game. It's a game that the casuals don't like. It's not going to be high scoring, but I'm going to love to see the how they come in with the game plan, just the overall game plan and the chess match between Harbaugh and Mike Tomlin. That should be interesting. But before we move on from that Chargers.
Wait. Oh, wait. Oh, the Chargers play.
The Chargers play the Steelers next week. That's what I was talking.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But before we move on from that, Bryce Young, he's benched. I don't think this is the last time we see him. I think it's low-key a good move because I think he needs some time to sit back and kind of regroup because even the body language with some of those plays, they only put up 3 points. Chargers do have a good defense. It is Harbaugh, who you would think when he played, he was an offensive player or a defensive player, but he did play on offense. Or what was he, a quarterback, right?
Mm-hmm. He was a quarterback for the Bears.
He was a quarterback. But I want to show y'all something. I heard a quote from Dave Canales. They asked him, if David Tepper had a hand in this, and I think his quote was not verbatim, but it was along the lines of, we're looking at the tape and, we had some ideas and, we're running out red rifle. But a couple things. For one, Bryce Young only played one series in the preseason. There was a lot of competent quarterbacks that played a game or two. I went to the Giants-Texans game because I live right next to NRG. So I watched that game, and even though the Giants were coming at Daniel Jones, they're letting him air it out. They were trying things. That's the time to try things. It's the preseason. That's why it's the preseason. And even though he didn't score a touchdown, it should have been a touchdown to Darius Slayton. It got to the one. It was a good pass. Malik Neighbors was doing his thing. And I don't get the logic of not having Bryce Young play more in the preseason and get more comfortable. You brought in Dave Canales, who was just credited with the Baker comeback. He was a part of that, the early Geno Smith resurgence. But take a look at this. This is egregious. And I think this is an ownership thing. Who you see here, this is Nicole Tepper. This is David Tepper's wife, who has a C-level position with the team. And what is her football background? Non-existent. If you watch Hard Knocks with the Giants, when we were doing the trade for Brian Burns, she was in the war room during the draft, and they were actually taking her input in. Huh?
How you know all this?
It came to me in a dream, I think. It's like, Austin made me aware of this. I remember I was on the phone with Austin, like, you're lying, bro. Ain't no way, bruh. Ain't no way. We have the David and Nicole Tepper Foundation, but you want to know what's interesting about that? So they got married in 2019. Before that, he was with Marlene Tepper, which is an old school name, with Marlene Tepper from 1986 to 2016. That's 30 years. Gets with the younger chick, you know what I mean, for an older joint, little cougar-looking joint. But what is she doing having, what's going on here? What's going on here?
You're not even letting her know how much say so she even has in regards to this organization.
I take that, bro.
I didn't know we were going into it, but
we got to. They just benched them. You just said, hey, we got to let things play out after y'all didn't let him play a preseason.
I'm saying about the tweets. I'm talking about the tweets that show you how much say so this woman has.
Oh, okay.
In regards to the organization.
What tweet?
She put it this way. There's been times where she's been out there looking at the offensive line go through drills. She's in the war room making decisions. She is part of the reason that Bryce Young is on this football team.
Probably thought he was cute. Oh, look at that cute.
Well, no, he's a Christian. He's a God-fearing Christian man, and that's why both of the last head coaches and the current head coach for this team had fathers that were pastors. This has nothing to do with football scouting. But this woman is making decisions for this football team.
Or at least influencing decisions, which is nuts. She doesn't have a football background. They just got together like right before they got the team. These owners are pompous. They think they know it all because to become an owner, you need to be a billionaire. So I think David Tepper got his start in the stock market and he crushed the stock market. But this isn't stocks. You know what I mean? This is football. You hire the guys that you trust to do the job and you let that shit fly. He's throwing drinks on fans. He's going into the local spots and taking down signs like he's the dictator of the whole state of North Carolina or something just because you just bought the team. And I'm not sure who would succeed. You put CJ Stroud here, maybe they're a middle of the pack team. But I think if you put Bryce Young with Indianapolis. You put him with the Vikings, who just drafted JJ McCarthy, who's out for the year. I think he has a way better shot in with a franchise that's. I mean, what's his name? Who just sold Washington to whatever? He was the worst owner for
Dan
David. Dan Snyder. Dan Snyder.
Dan Snyder.
I keep getting them mixed up with the other Snyder that has some stuff with him. But clearly the worst owner in the league. Until he stops meddling, I don't have really hope for this franchise. Hopefully Dave Canales could make some stuff shake. And Bryce Young, I think we're going to see him again. But the guy looks too small out there, man. I was watching some of the tape week one.
We could have a whole podcast over on this.
Yeah. So I'm gonna try to keep this a little short, but I was watching some of the tape from week one, and he had to do little jump throws off to the flat. The kid, his thing is supposed to be accuracy. For his size, the lack of athleticism, the accuracy is supposed to be that shining thing. Obviously, he's not the only guy of his stature that's been drafted number 1 overall. We have Kyler Murray, and then we have Baker Mayfield, who are balling. But they have these intangibles that the kid doesn't have. You could tell he's losing confidence, and this is the worst possible spot they could put him in. Let's say they have the number 1 overall pick again, which would be ironic. Do you think they trade back and try to build this terrible roster because Derek Brown, which is probably their only blue chip player, probably the best player on the team, is out for the rest of the year? Rest of the roster, lackluster. They traded Christian McCaffrey, Brian Burns, and I forget who else for minimal returns. And it's also about draft picks sound cool, but you have to hit on those picks. So do you think they draft another quarterback to push in this terrible situation, or what do they do? Because I would like to see Bryce Young get another chance, despite the fact that I think he's not that good. He's going to have to be put in like a 49ers, Packers type situation where everything is just kind of set for him, and we just need you to go out and work within the constraints of the offense. What do you think they should do?
I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm sorry. That's not to be rude. I'm not trying to be rude, but it's just like that's it's a whole pod in itself. Like they got so much. There's so much to unpack with this organization, and But I mean, I don't know if you punt at the player. If you feel like there's somebody that's as good as him at quarterback, maybe you take him, but it's going to be the same thing.
I think this quarterback class has better intangibles, but can they elevate this roster and get past some of the ownership deficiencies?
You're right. I don't think. Yeah. So I just think that there's a lot that they need. There's just a lot, and I don't. Hopefully, again, like I'm saying, it's week 2, so I don't want to get into it because for all we know, at the end of the year, they can win 5 games straight. Bryce Young can throw for 329 yards a game, and this isn't a thing. So it's just kind of like we just got to sit back and see how it plays out. We'll see.
I'm taking the over/under on Andy Dalton getting hurt his first game back. But anyway, let's move on. What's the next game?
Next game, another upset. Former QB Sam Darnold upsets 49ers 23-17.
Now with this game, last week I wasn't trying to shoot Daniel Jones bail, but I just respect Brian Flores so much as a defensive mind. At the end of this game, what's his name? Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy went up to Brian Flores and was like, yo, your scheme is crazy. And I think that played a major part in this W for the Vikings. Sam Darnold is doing this thing. Kevin O'Connell, great offensive mind over there. But I think the story of this game and how the Vikings are going to play, I really wanted to see how this game went about. Oh shit, my ice machine is going crazy. I thought someone was knocking on the door. But I really want to see how this game played out against Kyle Shanahan and them boys and that loaded roster. And this is why in one of my parlays, I took the Vikings to cover this one. I thought if the 49ers were going to win, it was going to be by 3, if anything, and the Vikings won outright. And like Brock Purdy told Flores, his scheme is crazy. I'm not sure if he's going to get a head coaching job anytime soon because of the Tua situation, but if they could keep this guy for a while they have pieces like Jay Jettas and Jordan Addison and TJ Hawkinson, and now they just, they signed Aaron Jones, even though I think he had like a pretty bad fumble in this game. But
I mean, he was out snapped and out carried and outplayed by Tyson Chandler, or is that his name?
Ty Chandler. Yeah, by Ty Chandler. So, he's a good running back, but Ty Chandler looked like he was in control of the backfield. He did catch it 5 times for 36 yards. He's a dual threat running back, always has been with the Packers. He's on the rival side now, but Vikings are looking scary because at the end of the day, J.J. McCarthy was one of the biggest question marks of the draft after winning the national championship with Harbaugh. And, some of those guys, a lot of Michigan players got drafted this past year. So don't sleep on the Vikings. That defense is going to carry. And Sam Darnold, he was like I don't think top 5, maybe top 6 pick when he got drafted. So, and he went to the Jets once again, sort of like Carolina, not the best place to go unless
he was at Carolina. He was at Carolina.
And, he was. And Baker was at Carolina too.
That's what I'm saying. It seems as if there's a pattern. Once you leave Carolina and you get some structure around you, you're able to achieve some things.
Once you leave purgatory, you might be able to make some stuff shake. But the Niners are going to be fine. I think the story about this is the Vikings really, but the Niners are going to be fine. But the Seahawks are leading this division going into week 3. So not much else to say about that game.
Yeah, I mean, it's week 2. The 49ers will be fine. Their defense might have taken a step back, but they'll get it fixed.
All right, but Lions, this is the game where the spread I felt like was super disrespectful. Lions are the Golden Boys right now with Dan Campbell. Everyone loves Dan Campbell. I love Dan Campbell. He was actually drafted to the Giants back in '99. He was like a tight end for us for a couple of years. So a couple of Giants, I won't call him a legend, but, the roots are there. But, hey, Baker Mayfield didn't go crazy this game, but they handled business like I thought they would. The main thing is the core pieces from last year where they won the division, beat the Eagles. Now the complete team isn't still there from their Super Bowl run, but offensively, I mean, there was Tristan Wirfs, there was Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, and now they have Rashad White. They drafted Bucky Irving. So that division is going to be very interesting. Them and the Saints are 2-0. And then the Falcons just snuck out that game against the Eagles last night. So should be interesting. Once again, the line should be fine. One of the best O-lines in the league, if not the best O-line in the league. And Jameson Williams seems like, one of the better Alabama draft picks from that era right now. He's really stepping up to be that wide receiver too, along with St. Brown.
I think Jaden Waddle still got it.
Jaden Waddle.
Yeah. He's from Alabama.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah. Nah, Jalen Waddle's dirty. I wanted him bad until like right before the draft. Everyone's talking about him. I'm like, he's not going to be there. Let's get Devontae Smith. Y'all make that trade. Get Micah Parsons. Say get Devontae Smith. We trade back. Get Tony. And now he's on his second team after us. Was he on the Browns now?
Man, I wouldn't even I wouldn't even know. We'd have to go see the
I thought
transaction.
you were. Aren't you a big Tony fan?
Hey, I am. I'm a Cowboy fan. I am a Cowboy fan. But yeah, I mean, when it comes to the Buccaneers, again, you got to give them credit, man. Like, yeah, I want to give a shout out to their head coach, um, Vance Joseph. Is that Vance Joseph? Yeah. Vance Joseph. I mean, they're consistent. They're consistently good. This is a solid win. This is a big
No,
win.
it's Todd Bowles.
Todd Bowles. That's what I meant. Sorry, Todd Bowles. Todd Bowles. I want to shout out to Todd Bowles. They've been consistent. Again, this is a team that went to the playoffs and beat the Eagles. Like, this team is not bad. Team is very good, and they went toe to toe last year with the Lions. They ended up losing the game, but this was a good spot for them. It looked like they had Jared Goff's number. They took care of business. They were able to contain Jahmyr Gibbs. 7 receptions for only 22 yards is not really what you're trying to see from a game-breaking running back. If you told me that the Cowboys played Jahmyr Gibbs and he had 7 receptions for 22 yards, I'm like, that's a good day. And I mean, at the end of the day, like we're talking about the Panthers, and Baker Mayfield was there, and he left there. He got with Sean McVay. He took the criticism, the constructive criticism to heart.
Got humbled a bit.
He learned from it, and he's carved out a nice little place for himself here in Tampa Bay. And again, I like what they're doing over there. They're a solid team. They're not the sexiest. They aren't the coolest, but at the end of the day, they got a Hall of Famer and Mike Evans, and they got Chris Godwin, who's back in his role as the slot wide receiver, and it looks like he's excelling in it. It was a sloppy game. It was a tough game, but at the end of the day, the Buccaneers pulled it out, and those are the type of games that you need your team to win. And this team is a playoff team. I know they're going to probably be in a tougher division than maybe people expected because they're dealing with the Saints and whatever the Falcons are, given how healthy the health of Kirk Cousins. But
contingency plan there.
This team has been slept on for the first 2 weeks, but I think it's time for us to kind of maybe stop playing.
Vegas is going to stop playing with them for sure. Yeah. With them having the Broncos this week, who are 0-2. Broncos need to find a way to upset them in Tampa, which I don't really see happening unless Bo Nix, makes some major improvements. But
I mean, I
feel like the Bucs are going to be 3-0, and then the Saints have a tougher matchup with the Eagles, and it's going to be interesting for sure.
Yeah, and then we're moving on to the Rams and the Cardinals. Kyler Murray, man. Kyler Murray after having a rough week 1.
These boys and Marvin Harrison Jr., he definitely heard the criticism. I hope if you drafted Marvin Harrison in your fantasy league, you didn't overreact to week 1. You got to keep pushing him, especially wherever you got him at. And he went crazy. I mean, he made that one of his touchdowns was very Space Jam reminiscent, very Richards from Fantastic Four. I mean, he looks like what we expect him to be, and this is what I expect from him. Trey McBride is going to do his thing, and don't sleep on Michael Wilson as wide receiver 2, Greg Dortch in the slot, taking that Rondell Moore role, and then James Conner being that bell cow. This is a solid team with the injuries that the Rams have suffered. I mean, Cooper Kupp got hurt this game. Puka Nacua is in IR, so they're relying on Demarcus Robinson and Tyler Johnson moving forward. The O-line for the Rams isn't looking great. I mean, I think we saw the Rams, they kind of sold their soul and their money for that Super Bowl. And, as good as Matt Stafford is with that line and their top 2 weapons, being out of there with these lingering injuries, I don't know really what to expect from them. It kind of seems like they're going to be 4th in this division due to injuries, but we'll see how that goes. But, yeah, the Cardinals put on a clinic here. They really did their thing. I'm very high on Kyler Murray. I actually have a Kyler Murray, Marvin Harrison stack, in the league that me and Austin are in. I'm expecting good things from the Cardinals, despite their their defense isn't the best, but they held these boys to 10 points. Buda Baker made some plays throughout the game. And yeah, they're an interesting watch every week. I'm looking forward to see what they do. Interesting enough, in their last 9 matchups, the Rams are 9-0. I actually took the Cardinals to win this game because I like trend betting a little bit, but I like to look at the situation for those trends and trying to predict when that trend's going to end, because you're not going to get a situation where the Rams just beat these guys every year, twice a year.
I mean, it's also not that
straight.
Rams team. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like the defense is depleted. I mean, it's crazy to think, this game was at 1.5, started at -1.5, but the Rams team was depleted and they got even more injuries. It added to the injury report, and the defense isn't as good as it once was. They obviously don't have the first ballot Hall of Famer Aaron Donald in the middle of it, and Kyler Murray had one of the better games of his NFL career. He just picked a good day to be a good quarterback, and he balled out. Good for him. I knew, after the comments he had during the week about Marvin Harrison and his struggles, I knew that they were going to make sure that Marvin Harrison had a Marvin Harrison game. It's just one of those things.
I think people, maybe not out of context, but we're thinking they were beefing a little bit. Bro, Marvin Harrison, he has top 5 wide receiver of all time blood in him. People come at him for how he handled the draft process, but we've seen enough tape on Buddy. There's a reason why he went before Neighbors. And I know in Hard Knocks, we said we would have took Neighbors over Harrison if it was up to him, but I think it just goes to show how talented both those players are. And Marvin Harrison,
and I mean that was something I said even during the draft process. The draft process. I let you know that, and you were kind of like, "Wait, really?" And I was like, "Yeah." Like there's people that quote unquote believe that.
Oh yeah, I definitely saw people, and you were definitely hammering that home for sure. But yeah, liking how this wide receiver class is cooking up. I know this was a big game for Kyler because that disastrous playoff game he had against the Rams during the Rams Super Bowl run was real bad. Then he got hurt, and then he came back towards the end of last season. And I feel like the spirits are high over there in the desert. So shout out to them, and let's see how the Rams can bounce back. I guess see how that goes. Hopefully, Sean McVay has something in the kitchen.
All right. And then one of the games of the week, Bengals versus Chiefs, never fails. Do you know these at one point? I don't know if that's the stat still or if that was before the game, but after all the games they the last 6 or 7 times that they played, the total points scored is 160 to 160. That's how close.
Really?
That's how close these teams play.
That's a dope stat. That's a dope stat.
And we didn't get the best game from both of these guys, but when it comes to playing these two teams, they just make sure that
they go at it.
Yeah, Patrick Mahomes threw for 151 yards.
Threw 2 picks. That boy Gesicki with the Bengals, he did his thing this game. Obviously, T. Higgins. So on the injury report, some people think that he's lying about it. I doubt it. Yo, it's like you a residential, side Bengals fan. I like him on the Raiders, man. Once they get a quarterback, that's scary.
If you like him on the Raiders, imagine what he would have done with the Cincinnati.
They should have traded up then.
Nope.
I mean, who'd they get? Amarius Mims?
Yeah, which they need.
They definitely need to protect Burrow, but yeah, this game came down to the wire. When it comes to the Chiefs, they're trying to three-peat, so they're going to be under a microscope with the refs. That last pass interference is definitely a pass interference. So say what you want, but if you're going to call out the refs, You got to call out the refs when it makes sense, not just because it's the Chiefs. That's just what it comes down to. Rashee Rice doing his thing, clear, alpha in the locker room, clear in the wide receiver room. And then Travis Kelce didn't do much in this game, but we know Travis Kelce, it's similar to who do they have that they're kind of saving until later. At the end of the day, Travis Kelce, he's going to find his ways to get the ball in open space, break crazy amount of tackles in the playoffs. Don't worry about Travis Kelce if you drafted him in fantasy. It is what it is. Not these blue chip players, they're not going to go off every game. That's not how this league works. Sometimes the game script just doesn't, warrant that. But yeah, the Chiefs pulled it out. They did what they had to do. Now they're 2-0. They're definitely looking for that three-peat. I think for the most part, they have that division in the bag, but watch out for the Chargers. I'm very interested to see that Andy Reid versus Harbaugh matchup. When's their first matchup? Chiefs, Chargers. They play, seems like, towards the end of September in LA. So that's going to be interesting. Let's see if they stay undefeated. Given some of these upsets this week, I don't see a team going like the Steelers that year or the Eagles recently rolling off like 10 in a row. I don't see that this year. Quarterback play has been pretty subpar compared to previous years, which is interesting with the rule changes that favor the quarterbacks, but I think the defense just caught up, and this is football. You're still going to watch. People complaining like they're not going to watch. You're still going to watch.
I'm going to stress it every chance I get, man. It's week 2. It's still preseason for these boys. It's still preseason,
And so, I'm glad you keep bringing that up. That's the theme for these first couple weeks, and you can't take too much of it. We'll see what these guys are made of in October, November.
Right, the middle of October. Middle of October, when it starts getting cold in some of these no-dome stadiums, and see what these boys are made of. Right.
But that was a toss-up game. Chiefs, Bengals, always a banger. So hopefully we keep seeing more of that. All right, now we got the Steelers, Broncos. My dumbass, I took the over in this game since it was so little, and then I know, bro. I'm just like an over chaser. I took the under in one of these games and it hit. So I need to just, I'm smart enough. It's just I like seeing high scoring shit, but this isn't. We're not seeing gods play quarterback no more. We had a golden era of quarterbacks about 10 years ago, and I think that's part of the reason why they want to see Aaron Rodgers win so much, because he's like the last of that dying breed. Well, not dying breed, but the last of that generation, really still pushing and kicking. Even though I do think Tom Brady, if he wanted to, could come out here and do his thing.
I mean, this ain't the game to talk about that too. Because it's this is how the Steelers want to win football.
For sure.
You know what I mean? This is why I was like, yo, this is Justin Fields is starting quarterback for them, because this is how they want to play. This is absolutely how they want to play. And
yes, sir.
I could have told you that Pat Freiermuth was going to lead this team in receptions. The defense did their thing, held them to 6 points. Steelers scored 13, and we're going home with a W. Hard days. I
know Belichick used to get, he had the good reputation for giving these rookie quarterbacks hell. That might go to Mike Tomlin right now with TJ Watt over there wreaking havoc. I think he's on a revenge tour, because I do think he should have won Defensive Player of the Year last year over Myles Garrett. And, I think he's going to – when you're an elite player like TJ Watt, it's kind of like Michael Jordan. You have to take what you can to motivate yourself, because you're that good, where you have to find little things like that. And I do feel like he took that personally. And I think, he's going to have a crazy year. This one, I don't think there was any possibility the Broncos were going to win this one.
Yeah. No chance. I mean, no chance. This is a Mike Tomlin spot. This is a Mike Tomlin game. This is what he does. These people are so psycho that when they needed a quarterback, they traded a first-round pick for a free safety. And the free safety plays awesome. Like, this is just what they do. Yeah, we don't need no quarterback, man. Give me the safety. Let me get the safety. Oh, Michael Fitzpatrick is available? Bet. Here's his first. Give me the safety. And they started winning. Like, this team is not like the rest of the teams in the NFL. They're just not.
And that's what's so beautiful about, because, you know, with other sports, I'm not going to go into detail, but there's so many ways to win in the NFL. You have to play into your roster. You have to play into your philosophy as a team.
Your culture, yeah.
Yeah, and the Steelers have an amazing culture. I'm glad Justin Fields has the second chance. I see Bears fans, rah, 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 like we should have kept Caleb. Man, F that. Y'all take Caleb. Let Justin Fields get this chance. I like the spot that he's in. Things happen for a reason, and he's here, and I think
this is home for him. This is home. This is home for him. And you don't have to break the bank for Justin Fields now, because we got the Geno Smith contracts and the Baker Mayfield contracts where they're making like $25 million a year compared to the 40 and 60, 55. So it's like, this is home for him. And I know Mike Tomlin had a grown man conversation with Russ and said, yes, you will. I'll give you the opportunity to start. But sometimes it just doesn't work out like that.
Football god said, hey, you're out week one. Justin Field gets his chance. We're going to keep rolling with Justin because he does do things you're not able to do, my guy.
And the football gods exist. They exist. They're real.
They do exist. And that boy Thor put the hammer down and said, give Justin Fields that chance. And he's making the best. And speaking of Caleb Williams, we got him against the Texans, prime time. Those prime time games, man. If you have a 1 o'clock game and, you know, you have a sloppy performance, it kind of gets thrown, you know, under the bridge a little bit. But, hey, that's what comes with being the number one pick. You're going to get some of these primetime games, especially when you push out DeAndre Swift, Khalil Herbert, DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, and then Rome Odunze. They only had 4 picks in this draft, and they used one on a punter. And he told the punter before the season, you're not going to have to punt much. They punted a bunch in this game. But, there's going to be growing pains with Caleb. He had a couple plays kind of like last week where it's like, bro, these D linemen are much faster than what you experience over there. And it kind of is reminiscent to the early Baker years where Baker seemed like he felt like he was more athletic than he really is. And with Caleb, it's like you were college athletic. You're not NFL athletic. Like that dancing around, he had that egregious he had that egregious ass pick where it's like it felt like a Madden throw. Like when you're down in Madden and you're just trying shit out. Except this is an NFL game, prime time, and you were in this game. Can't throw picks like that. Even the last play of the game, him and Rome Odunze, I think it was Rome, weren't on the same page. I think he was expecting him to curl back, and it just that last play was just hilarious. It was just so anticlimactic. But yeah, you're going against the Texans, man. This is second year with DeMeco Ryan. Oh my God, this was a welcome to the league game for Caleb. Got sacked 7 times, and besides the sacks, he was getting hit often, and you could just see by his body language.
The running backs didn't help him much either, you know.
Oh my God, 1.3 a carry is absolutely nuts.
Yeah, so you know what I mean. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, he just really didn't have. He didn't have that much help, man. So it's just sometimes it gets like that.
What do you think about DJ Moore's body language? He was a big proponent of Justin Fields. He said that there's not a better quarterback in this draft than Justin Fields right now, and I think he showed that with his body language, taking the helmet off when it was after that third down. They knew they were punting it. Do you think he should, be more of a vet, try to be more supportive, not kind of show like, man, we had our guy. We could have had Marvin Harris. We could have just took Marvin Harrison.
No, because again, this was happening with Justin Fields. He was taking a bunch of sacks. This is how it goes. You're gonna have growing pains. You're dealing with a rookie quarterback, second game of the season. Like he played a little bit in preseason, but even he's like, you know what I mean? Like everybody's still getting it figured out here. Offensive coordinators are still getting it figured out. And again, he's not going to come in as much as we want to see him be Pat Mahomes and do all these things. He's not about to come in and light up the world. It took Jordan Love probably a season and a half, or
after setting for a lot of years, to get that together, and that was what mattered for.
And then he got it.
And then it clicked. And I believe in Caleb Williams. I think he just has to knock out some of the bad habits. And he played a tough Texans defense coached by DeMeco Ryans. And I'll keep hammering this home that everybody around, sometimes when you have a dynamo and, when he played and when he was on a coaching staff, everyone around him was like, yeah, he's going to be the next guy. And I think they just have a good core over there in Houston. And this is a primetime game. Welcome to the league, Caleb. Welcome to the league. You saw C.J. Stroud try to give him some advice towards the end of the game. I think he was a little disappointed in his performance. I think people were saying, like, oh, he's not taking advice. I don't look at it like that. I've had my questions with some of Caleb's antics, but I think he's going to be good in this league, and this is going to be one of these games you look back at where it's like, give these guys a chance. We live in more of a fast food, social media era. People's attention spans are at an all-time low, and they want people to come out the gate and be C.J. Stroud, but that's just not always the case, and it doesn't mean you made the wrong pick or anything like that. It's just, this is C.J. Stroud's second year, and they added Joe Mixon. They added Stephon Diggs, who's the captain, and then Nico Collins, who was drafted in the second round. He's 6'5", and he was making some crazy plays during this game. You got to look at the positives. You held them to 19 points, and the game was within reach, even though it didn't really seem like the Texans were going to lose this one. But it is what it is, a bad beat.
Right. I mean, hey, welcome to the NFL. Like you said, Texans are a solid team, man. I mean, Texans have created a team that's going to try to make a run. They have Danielle Hunter on one side. They got Will Anderson Jr., who they drafted after they.
Let's talk about that. That's one of the best, little first 5 picks. I think Will Anderson was drafted 3rd, right?
Well, yeah,
they came up and they traded back up and got him, and then got that combo. And Will Anderson's doing his thing, man. So it's just who's a Nick Caserio? Shout out to Nick Caserio. I mean, they were a shit show around the Deshaun Watson times when they had that Bible thumper running stuff, the evangelist or whatever he was running stuff. Those are terrible times, but this is why I love the NFL. It doesn't take 10 years to get a scary, real, Super Bowl contender, and that's what we have over there in Houston. The bright side of things is the Bears came out of week 1 with a game that they probably should have lost, and they're only 1-1. And let's see, week 3, they have the Colts, who are 0-2, so that's going to be an interesting game. Yeah. That's going to be an interesting game. I mean, and this is even though we, Austin refers to this as the Fox, the faux free preseason. This is some of my favorite football because it's so unpredictable. These teams are making adjustments. All right, you need to get more minutes. You need to get more burn. You can't play. We're going to have to make these adjustments. And it's interesting to see how these teams maneuver. And the Texans don't seem like they just need to keep that shit pushing. Hope that the NFL guys don't hit them with an injury bug. And with the Bears, at least you guys are 1-1. You have the Vikings that that's going to be a scary matchup. You have them twice for Brian Flores going against a rookie quarterback. You have the Packers, who Jordan Love, I think he's week to week,
Yeah,
right?
week to week.
He's week to week, but they were efficient with Malik Willis. And then you have the Lions, and the Lions are the Lions. I mean, they were that close to getting to the big game. So not really unexpected. Everyone projected this division to be really good this year, but I'm just excited to see how everything pans out. But Bears fans, don't overreact. Don't be like, oh, well, we should have just kept Justin Fields. You have a good player over there. Roman Dunze dropped a catchable ball. It wasn't the perfect pass, but in the future, he should be catching those. And they just have some dogs over there on defense with Houston. It was a tough matchup. I mean, this is a team that is expected to contend now, and you guys are in rebuild mode. You guys had 4 draft picks, and you spent 1 on a punter, and 2 of your picks were in the first round. So,
yeah, they'll be all right.
All right, last game. This was a long one. Well, a long pod, but there's a lot to discuss in week 2. We learned a lot after week 1. We have the Falcons edging it out against the Eagles. I was getting ready to turn this game off, actually, and this is why any given Sunday, any given Monday. So shout out to Saquon. Not really. This was a great Saquon hate watch for us Giants fans. Vintage Saquon dropping a key pass in his hands, Butterfingers per usual. He has the most drops out of any running back since 2021. And Devin Singletary is running just as efficiently. I didn't think he was a major upgrade from Swift, even though he was an upgrade. I think he's going to be fine playing under one of the best lines he's ever had in his career. Ironically, the Giants' O-line, not the best in run protection, better in pass protection, but he's going to be fine on the Eagles. Somewhat of a very important game for the Falcons to win with the Saints and the Bucks. They went into this game knowing that both those teams are 2-0. Kirk Cousins really didn't flash until the end of the game. He has a stigma against his primetime games, and he showed up that last drive. It looked really easy, but that's the concern with the Eagles is that defense. And this was a game they had in their grasp. They could have came into week 3 leading the division 2-0. They could have easily lost that Packers game. So I don't think the Eagles are shooing to win the division. The NFC East is always a toss-up. I think we've had a new division winner for the past 12 years or something. So, what are your thoughts on this game?
It was one that got away, and it's probably going to come back to haunt him at some point, possibly down the stretch. Kirk Cousins, you got to give respect is due. He played well enough for them to win the game. Especially coming off that concern in game 1, he looked better. He looked healthier. He took a few hits. He took a big sack, got up from it, bounced back. Bijan Robinson looks like the best running back in the NFL to me. I don't really understand. I guess I get it because Tyler Algier is good. Why he got 9 carries, but he
got 6 yards a carry, and if they think they feel like they can make a run. They made that trade for Judon right before the season started. And then they scooped up Justin Simmons to pair with Jesse Bates. They have AJ Terrell there. They feel like they can make a run. Shout out to Ray McLeod. He's making an impact there. Darnell Mooney seems like he was a good pickup. I always liked Darnell Mooney on the Bears, so I thought that was a good pickup. I think they made a lot of good moves. The questionable move, obviously, was the whole Penix pick, but I think they were in QB hell so much they just wanted to put more of their chips into that QB plate and make sure they're not pushing out Desmond Ridder and Taylor Heineke ever again. Raheem Morris gets his second chance as a head coach, and
right. I think this is a big win for him. Mm-hmm. Philadelphia. There wasn't a bad play call. I've been thinking it over. I'm looking at it, but at the end of the day,
I thought you were about to kill your boy.
No, we'll let him live one more week because I mean,
And we're talking about Kellen Moore, by the way.
Saquon had 5 targets, 4 for 21. The only one that he dropped was the most important one. But I believe this is more like what it's going to look like, though. However, I don't think that you're going to see a heavy workload from Saquon out the backfield catching the football. I definitely think that you're going to see Jalen Hurts running a lot more. In the first game, he didn't run at all. In this game, he ran it 13 times for 85 yards himself. And I just think that this is the offense you're going to see from Philly. They were out without AJ Brown, so they were down a stud, but they still had this game won. They just whatever. It's just sometimes it's unfortunate. It was a good play call, bad execution on the running back for dropping it on 3rd and 3, and it kind of cost him. Again, got to give credit to Raheem Morris and the Atlanta Falcons for making plays at the right time to win the game. That's just kind of what it is at this point. So Eagles was a tough one after winning a tough one. That's kind of how it goes in the NFL. And the Falcons are buying time. They're buying time to get their team figured out, and they're gaining confidence. That was a huge win for them. So even like Zach Robinson, their offensive coordinator, this is his first year calling plays. I think if you think about that and take everything into consideration, you would say that you would probably get the game ball to them. They won. There was maybe some questionable calls down the stretch where they probably could have ran the ball a few more times, but what does it matter if you win? You know what I mean? Go ahead and figure. It's better to figure all that stuff out after you won a game than it is to figure all that stuff out after a loss. So,
and I know visually, just watching this game, Kirk Cousins didn't look crazy, but he was efficient. No picks. He took 1 sack, so the O-line held up for the most part. And what are your thoughts on Kyle Pitts? I mean, when is he going to make his impact?
I think this is his impact. I think this. I don't think we're ever. I mean, again, he has time to get healthy. He's a 22, 23-year-old.
Was he ever hurt?
Yeah. He was hurt all last year. But I just think this is what you would expect. Drake London to be getting the majority of the targets. He comes down with a touchdown. Darnell Mooney, 2nd wide receiver. Kyle Pitts, 3rd pass catcher. That's kind of just what the situation is here, and I don't think that he's doing anything wrong. People have expectations for him, and I think that stuff is still possible. Again, he scored last week, and I'm pretty sure he was targeted 4 times. He caught 3 balls. That's all you can do.
So, and just to highlight his injury history, more so 2022. He had a MCL tear in November 2022, and before that, he had a sprain in his hamstring. But in 2024, August 21st, another hamstring strain, grade 1. Got it in practiced through it. So I mean, overall, he's decently healthy. But I think having Drake London, Mooney, Ray McLeod, he's not asked to be prime Mark Andrews when that was the main option in Baltimore, or the season after the Tyreek Hill trade to the Dolphins, what Travis Kelce was asked to do with that wide receiver room. So at least that's good. It's promising. I think he's going to have a crazy game eventually. Just don't know when. That's why he's on my note. Him and Drake London are on my no draft list every year. I'm just not trying to go into that. I'd rather take somebody like Darnell Mooney later in the draft and look how he did. Averaged nearly 30 yards a catch, 7 targets along with Drake London, and they both scored a touchdown. So Kirk Cousins, you got him. He's a statue in the pocket, but he's accurate, and you give him a clean pocket, he's going to do what you expect Kirk Cousins to do. And it should be interesting if, I think if they lost this, Penix, and I think it's good for the Falcons. It's not for Kirk Cousins himself, but it's like, when you're a mercenary quarterback, you're getting these legendary contracts. Your agent is top tier, getting you this money. It makes teams, the next team, you keep going to these teams, they're less tied to you. So I know he felt blindsided by the Penix pick, but bro, you got paid. I don't want to really hear it from you. Go out there and perform and show why this rookie shouldn't get any burn this year and why he should sit under you for the rest of the year. And that's what it is. And I think it's a good position to be as a Falcons fan, because if he gets hurt again or if he starts underperforming, you do have a guy who I think is NFL ready with Penix, and he's in a good situation and he's going to be fresh. So shout out to the Falcons pulling this one out. It's interesting. I didn't watch too much of the Manning cast, but they had Bill Belichick. You can tell Bill Belichick has some disdain for the Falcons. I think he really wanted that job. I think the Kraft family definitely had a say so with getting him a little bit blackballed there, especially with the documentary they came out, which they didn't speak very highly of Belichick, which I think is insane. He got 6 rings for you guys. He has 2 rings with the Giants back when Lawrence Taylor was playing, and he was a defensive coordinator for us. Bill Belichick's a good coach. He's just not a good GM. He doesn't seem like a good offensive talent evaluator, but I think he does take it personally. He mentioned how he mentioned some of their tampering issues going into this season. He made sure to bring that up, and then he took some shots at AJ Terrell and how much stock they're putting into him, despite the lack of interceptions. So he took some jabs at him. I think he definitely wants to get back into coaching. So we'll see how the coaching hires are this upcoming season or in the off season when the playoffs get started, because I think he could still coach, man. And when you're a coach like him, even Pete Carroll, when he came out in that press conference after they let him go, I think he was really trying to prove like, hey, I still got it. I'm still here ready. And it almost brings a tear to my eye. These guys are like 70, 80 years old. They're made, but this is their life. It's like these players, how a lot of players, whether it's NFL, baseball, soccer, basketball, they don't know what to do. This has been their life since they're a little kid. And even with these coaches pushing 80, 90, they want to get back out there for the love of the game. And it's similar to Tua. Tua has no desire to retire. Shout out to Tua. They put him on IR, which I think is smart. Let him get multiple opinions when it comes to, the brain aspect of the concussions. Tom Brady, obviously, that, his divorce was kind of pumped up with promises to Giselle to retire. And he was like, nah, I still got some years left in me. Fuck them kids. And that's why I love this sport, man. That's why I love this sport. But really look forward to week 3. We're going to have our picks for that. We did pretty decent. Some really close calls with the picks. And, we'll break those down for you guys. And, this is a long one. We're going to cut this one up. And, yeah, man. You got anything else, Austin?
Nah, just like and subscribe.
Like to subscribe. Matter of fact, giving you the facts, facting out, and all that.
All right. See you guys.